Okay, good afternoon from Nairobi, Kenya. My name is Daniel Juma Umondi. I am the country director of the Global Peace Foundation in Kenya. And it's my pleasure to welcome you all to this inaugural series of what we're calling the Transforming Education series, Zoom online meeting. As you all are all aware, we are living in uncharted times. With the COVID-19, everybody is affected either directly or indirectly. And since we are all passionate about education, and most of us are parents, so we decided to make this first meeting about how do we engage our students, how do we engage our teachers, how do we engage our parents, especially in this time when we have the lockdown as a result of the COVID-19. So in this meeting today, we have within us high-level stakeholders in education. We are privileged to have two ministers, two CASs, which is in Kenya we call ministers. So Honorable Zach Kinuthia, he is the CAS in the Ministry of Education. We also have Honorable Mumina Bonaya, who is also a CAS in the Ministry of Education. So before I call upon Honorable Kinuthia to give opening remarks, I would like to invite Campos to give us some some ground rules for this call. So welcome, Campos.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joseph, Development Associate for the Global Peace Foundation. I want to go over a few housekeeping items before we begin for both the participants and the speakers. All participants will be muted throughout the presentation so that we can hear all of the speakers. We want to hear your questions, comments, and feedback. At the bottom of the screen, you can find the chat tab and nonverbal feedback buttons in the participants tab. Please start all questions with the word question in capital letters as the first word in the chat. That way, our team can quickly identify them. Speakers, since we have a full docket of presentations, I will ask that you respect the 10-minute time allotment for each presenter in our schedule. I will give a 2-minute warning and a verbal 1-minute warning so that you can begin making your final statements. Thanks again for participating today, everybody. I look forward to a great call. I'm going to send it back to our host, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you, Campos. Thank you. And
thank you.
Just like I said earlier on, the theme of today's meeting is engaging students, teachers, and parents during COVID-19. Now that schools are closed, now that our children are at home, what do? Do we just stay, and hope that tomorrow something will happen? Or do we come up with some innovative ways in which to be able to engage our students at home? I mean, in my own house, for example, I have 2 young children, school-going children, and my wife has recently turned herself into a teacher. She made a blackboard in my son's bedroom, and she's teaching these youngsters every day. And at the same time, the school where my kid goes, studies, are being engaged, by their teachers using Google Classroom. So that is just one example, but so many questions people are asking. What about, for example, the students in the rural areas, those who cannot access technology, what about them? So these are some of the issues that we have to deal with. We must discuss and engage. And instead of just saying that, yes, some can't access technology, we need to sit together as stakeholders, those who love education, those who are passionate about education, to be able to engage and find solutions, for this problem. So without much ado, let me call upon the CAS for Education, Honorable Zach Kinuthia, to give his opening remarks. Honorable Zach Kinuthia is one of the youngest ministers that was appointed recently by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, and we are very happy that especially the youth, that we now have a CIS, who is young like the rest of you guys, to be able to work with us in the area of education. So let me call upon Honorable Zach Kinuthia to make his opening remarks. Welcome, Honorable Kinuthia.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Juma, Director Juma, can you hear me? Director Juma?
Yes, we can hear you very well. So I think you can go ahead and make your presentation.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Honorable Kinuthia, yes.
All right, thank you. I want to take this chance to appreciate this initiative. And first of all, as Director Juma has brilliantly put it, my name is Zach Kinuthia, Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Education. Technically, as he said, we are the Assistant Minister assisting Professor George Magoha, who is a CS, the Minister in charge of education in the country. And I am delighted to be in such a ministry at such a time when this disruption has hit the world in a way that nobody ever thought it would happen. And we are here because our children, as the CEO has said, have been in or at home for the last 6 weeks. And in this period, unlike the other, they are not sure what will become of them, because in the past, when schools have been disrupted, they are disrupted for a definite period of time. We know perhaps this is strike. We know this is closure. We know this is an endemic issue, and it will come to an end. Perhaps you could say clashes, war, violence, whatever. But this time, the whole world has been stopped by a pandemic that we cannot predict its end. And therefore, I think this initiative by Global Peace could not have come at a better time than now, when we are discussing paradigm shifts of mind, or rather possible paradigm shifts of the way we know things. I'm hearing the streets calling them new normal. And this is what, as a government, also we are thinking. If this is going to be normal, a new normal, how do we adapt to bring all of us on board? Executive Director, as you know, being a passionate educationist as you are, we love education because education is the equation mark for all of us. It is the only way all of us can be equal. Many ways have been devised in the history of mankind, but education seems to be the bridging gap where the poor and the rich, the black and the white, the tribe and the tribeless can be equal in the table of knowledge, out of the table of ignorance. And therefore we want everybody of us to be educated. And that is why today, as you see, Kenya has had a series of 10 to 15 years of making education free for all. For example, the former president rolled out the free education for primary school. All public primary school education is accessible for all for free. The president today, President Uhuru Kenyatta, said that free education will be made for all day school, secondary, rather all secondary day going children. And this is what we've been trying to implement. So far, so good. And this is now about our 7th year, and it is happening. And we want everybody who has a will to access education. But now, with the changing realities of students are at home, pupils are at home, how do we make this again equal for all of us, Bwana Idi?
Yeah.
Bwana Idi? Yes.
Yes, continue. Did you ask a question or?
Yeah, saying now, I hope everybody can hear me. It would be disservice for me not to hear everybody. I'm excited to have, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I also put my video on the other side. Is it visible?
It is not.
My video is not visible.
No, unfortunately, since the screen's only going to pick up the person speaking. But let me try something really quickly. I found it. There you are.
Now you can see.
That's it. Should I now say join video? Should I say join audio to continue?
Oh no, this is fine.
No, go ahead. Now we can see you.
You can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can hear you and I can see you very clearly.
Okay,
yes,
I think now.
Yes, absolutely. Asante.
All right, I think this is better.
Yes, this is very good.
All right, now as I was speaking it, I said we are trying to look at paradigm shifts in the likely event that this pandemic will not be managed in the shortest time possible across the globe. And we do not want our country to be one which was not able to plan awaiting the lifting of restrictions across the country. Because as you know, we are not going to put our children, our pupils, our students in line of risks in this pandemic. We insist that the Ministry of Health guidelines be strictly followed by excluding mass gatherings, keeping social distancing, washing hands, cleaning ourselves. Yet, as lovers of education, and I had said earlier there, for us, those who think and believe education is an equator for all of us, how do we proceed in the midst of this thing? Remember, there are students who were supposed to have start exams towards the end of this year, those who are in pupils in class 8, and students in Form 4. How do we ensure that they do not lose out on this year? I have had many possibilities. People saying, this year could be lost, we will do it. No. But as government, and the president has pronounced himself on this, exams will not be postponed. Exams will be done. How exams will be done towards the end of this year is what the ministry and government is quickly and with a lot of passion trying to bring on board, so that no child in the rural, in the
Hello, are you still there?
We've lost the sound, unfortunately.
Honor, we have lost your sound. So in this case, how do we let you know? Hello?
Hello. Okay.
Lost the sound. We lost the sound.
We lost the sound, and I think we need to send him find a way of sending him a message that we cannot hear him as we move on to the next speaker. I don't know how we can do
We've unfortunately lost the sound. So we need to check your sound connection. We've lost the sound and we need you to check your sound connection. Yeah, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Daniel.
Okay.
We've lost Kunathia, unfortunately.
We've lost the minister. Joy, can you check? Can someone call the minister and let him know we lost him? We'll bring him on for the next, maybe he can summarize what he was saying. Yeah, so let's move on to, I think the issues brought about by the minister are very, very pertinent issues. And this is what we need to discuss. How can we equalize the playing field?
Daniel.
How can we get
Can you speak closer to your mic, please?
My mic, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Oh, that sounds so much better.
Good. Fine. So thank you, Honorable Zach Kinuthia, for that opening remarks. I am very, very sorry that we lost you for the last 3 or 4 minutes of your presentation. Please check your, if you are able to check your microphone, then later on I can be able to bring you back again, maybe at the as we approach the end of this session, so that we can be able to, as soon as you are able to fix your sound system. So next, I will bring I'll bring Dr. Tony Devine. Dr. Tony Devine is the Vice President of the Global Peace Foundation in charge of education. He has been a passionate advocate of this topic of transforming education. And I think some of the things that we have done in education, we have done with Tony in this country, initiatives like Character and Creativity Initiative and Live Hubs. So let me bring on Dr. Devine. Karibu, Dr. Devine.
Oh, hello, Daniel. Hello, everybody. It's great to be with you all today. Thanks for coming on this very important call. We are in a very special time, and we can do some really amazing things, even though we may be restricted in our homes. So I want to share a little bit about some ideas and thoughts about how we can transform education for the future. Let me go to my slide here a second and get that moving. Here we go. Yeah. So Africa is really blessed in many ways, right? With amazing natural resources and a noble spiritual and cultural heritage. But its number one asset is its people, and especially its young people, has the youngest population of any other, like countries like Kenya, Uganda, the youngest population of anywhere in the world. The question we have to ask is, what are the life prospects of our young people for the future, for future peace and prosperity? We need to prepare students for a rapidly changing world. When we look at from an economic perspective, scientific knowledge and technology is creating amazing new opportunities that can enrich our lives, but at the same time can fuel disruptive waves of change in every sector. Even in the social areas of the world, we see inequalities in living standards and life chances are widening, while conflicts and instability are increasing. So our young people who are graduating from our institutions and schools, they're going to face these challenges, and they have to be able to come up with really good solutions to them. Same story with the environment. Climate change is depleting our natural resources. So young people will have to take urgent action and adapt to this situation. So this is where moral and innovative leadership is going to be very important. So what do we mean by moral leadership? Well, it's leadership guided by fundamental universal principles and values that are founded at the heart of every great faith and wisdom tradition. And moral leadership focuses on the greater good that can benefit not only the individual, but the larger society, the nation, and eventually the world. And it aspires to unleash the potential of people for the greater benefit of the whole, or for the larger society and the world. That needs to be complemented with innovative leadership, harnessing, our natural creative need to advance and develop the human condition. And our time really requires, especially this time, requires fresh, creative ideas and thinking and solutions. We're in a very unusual situation. And this is where emerging technologies and solutions can propel humanity forward. So educational stakeholder leaders, which is everybody on this call, we have to really focus on developing people and of course, nurturing the skills and new knowledge and application of that knowledge in a very, very fast changing world. So what we're doing here with this call, this is the launch call of a series of online Zoom calls or online capacity building that will support and build capacity in students, teachers, school heads, parents, and school systems during the COVID-19 period. But also, we're preparing, these calls will also be preparing for the recovery. There is going to be a recovery, and there is going to be a future that we need to be preparing for. So we'll be looking at very important questions. So for cross-sector stakeholders in education, we need to be looking at a different approach to education, a whole of society approach that brings school systems, schools, communities, and employers all together to actually put ideas on the table, right? New ideas, innovative ideas versus the whole of government only approach. Also, school systems need to be transformed to prepare students effectively for the 21st century workforce. And we also need to be mapping out, a strategy of a hybrid online learning approach in concert with the in-school experience so that we're really ready if a situation like this can come up again. And then for school principals and teachers, a lot of capacity building can be done even during this time on calls like this. And we will be planning capacity building calls for teachers and principals, and sharing lots of online resources that educators can avail of. And of course, too, to prepare teachers for their new role as a role model, a master facilitator, a relationship builder. This is the role of the teacher in the 21st century. Parents are a very, very important stakeholder in this mixture. Now parents are also their children's teacher during this time. So how can regular teachers support parents? There's lots of things we need to think about to build capacity in parents, encouraging lifelong learning and a passion for learning, and also involving parents, in the lives of their children, in conveying wisdom, values, right, in addition to the traditional learning. And for students, we also need lots of support for students with their learning during and after this crisis. Again, lots of online resources. We're going to hear about some of those today, like Google Classroom, that students can tap into. And also students can be creating like virtual student groups to support learning, to come up with innovative and entrepreneurial ideas like the Leap Hubs project that we have in Kenya with Global Peace Foundation and partners. And also for all groups, we need to engage everyone in tackling the big questions at this time, and also our role in mapping the way forward. Daniel mentioned about the character and creativity initiative that we have going in Kenya. Also, OECD has a great project called the Learning Compass 2030 that we're involved in, helping students to prepare for the future with the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values, and how instructional systems can develop those skills effectively. Let me go here a second. One thing I want to mention here about the relationship between value, skills, and knowledge, they're not equal. Shared values are critically important, especially right now. And it is those values that guide skills like communication, collaboration, problem solving, innovation are all value neutral. They need to be guided so that the new types of knowledge and technologies can be used for the benefit of all mankind. Learning. So when we talk about continuous learning, it's not just for the students. It's also for the teachers, the school heads, and those in the Ministry of Education. So almost coming to the end here. So we need new types of partnership, and I hope that this series of calls will spark that type of partnership. And I'm really delighted to see many of our really good partners on the call today, and they'll be speaking with you today. So here, again, we want to be developing this whole of society approach, right, with public-private social partners. And as we work to transform education during this time, during the recovery and afterwards, we will have graduates coming out of our schools and our institutions who are better able to contribute to employment and economic development, societal and political stability, and ethical societies free from corruption. So thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate the opportunity to share these thoughts with you here today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tony Devine. And I know the time is very limited, and the information that you have, I think we'll be able to share with the participants. You know, I think those of you who have left your emails, I think we are able to share this information. But moving forward, is that I mean, how do we work together? You know, as partners, how do we work together, collaborate in this journey of making our education much better than it is today? So quickly, I'll move on to the next speaker. The next speaker was supposed to be Mrs. Jacinta Katza, who is the director of the Center for Mathematics, Science and Technology in East Africa. But unfortunately, this morning she had a surgery, and she was advised by the doctor to take a rest. So instead of her, we have Mr. Paul Kogola, who is also a director at Semastia, and I will invite him to make his remarks on behalf of the director of Semastia. Welcome, Mr. Kogola.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I hope everybody is hearing me.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much, the moderator for the session, Mr. Juma, and the CS, Mr. Divine, and all the colleagues in this forum. May I also start by passing on the apologies of our director, Mr. Katza, who is indisposed today. I would like to just briefly tell you what we do. The Center for Mathematics, Science and Technology Education in Africa. We are an institution that is charged with capacity building of teachers in secondary schools, primary schools, and we focus on STEM education.
Yes, I can see the discussion is going on.
Hello? Hello?
Someone had unmuted themselves. Please keep going.
Continue.
Continue.
Can I continue?
Yes, you can.
Okay, yes. So Semastia works with the teachers across Kenya, and also we work with teachers across other African countries. And our focus mainly is on capacity building. This moment that we have of this global pandemic presents us with a very rare opportunity for us to rethink how we have actually been doing things. And as an institution, actually, we acknowledge the challenge that is there, the challenge that is facing all of us who are in education, the challenge that is facing our Ministry of Education, officials of ministry, teachers, parents, and the children for whom we are doing education. So ladies and gentlemen, briefly as an institution, what we are doing currently is that we are doing online training programs for our teachers to be able to mitigate the situation, because our normal activities involve bringing teachers to come together, and we build their capacities to be able to deliver quality education to children. But we do this based on a face-to-face interaction where they are able to come and share with each other the challenges they are facing and how they are able to overcome this. But given the circumstances that we have, this is practically not possible. Fortunately for us, it's not now that this pandemic has come where we have started up this program. Initially, we used to have purely face-to-face meetings with our teachers where we were able to build their capacities. But as time went by, we realized that it's not possible to constantly miss teachers and let them engage each other on face-to-face programs due to the time that they have to be withdrawn from school. So the only time that we have had is the school holidays where we can be able to bring the teachers. But the issues we understand are very widespread and cross-cutting. So before the pandemic came, Semester had already developed an online program where we are able to meet our teachers, first of all, for a brief face-to-face period. Then thereafter, they can continue for 1 month, engaging on topics that are relevant to how they can be able to make education even better. So we had started that. And by the time the pandemic was coming up, fortunately, we had already trained over 3,000 teachers on our online program so that they are able to continue engaging, and they're also able to continue to apply the same skills to be able to meet their own students. Like we enrolled our teachers in Google Classroom in July last year, and we completed our courses in Google Classroom in February, just before we went into the lockdown in the country. Unfortunately, some of the teachers are able to apply these skills to be able to reach the students who are now at home. I can't tell exactly how many are able to engage students using these skills, but at least we have been able to capacitate a large number of teachers, 3,000 secondary school teachers, who are able to apply these skills that you have been able to give them. Going forward, we are not only targeting these 3,000 teachers, we are supposed to have our programs every year. Like in the month of March, we are supposed to have met over 600 teachers who are key trainers. And then they were supposed to have met some 7,000 teachers during these April holidays. That has not been possible. So what we have been able to do is to bring up these teachers into the Google Classroom. Like right now, this week, we are actually putting on the materials online, and by next week, we'll be enrolling the teachers into our programs so that they can continue with the learning. Now, that is for the teachers, because we know that in this situation where we are, the teachers still remain a critical component because they still have to link with the children at home. As you are aware, we have several government programs that are going on, like through Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, KBC. They are broadcasts targeting children so that they are able to continue learning. If you don't build teachers' capacity to continue with that, it will be difficult. So that's what we are doing through our online Google Classroom targeting the teachers. Now, besides that, there are also other innovative activities that are going on. Apart from Google Classroom, we have also enrolled several teachers on the WhatsApp forums under the Secondary Education Quality Improvement Program. That is the SEQUIP program being run by the Ministry of Education and the World Bank and Teacher Service Commission. So we interact with our teachers on the WhatsApp forum where they are able to ask questions and we are able to respond to them and be able to guide them. Now, moving down to children who are at home. So how are we able to connect with the children? We are not working directly with the children, but working with the teachers. And it is just good to share some of the initiatives that we are aware of, because we are also parents, and our colleagues are scattered in different places in the country now, and we are monitoring what is going on. We are aware that schools have opened WhatsApp forums where they have enrolled teachers, they have enrolled parents, and they have enrolled the students. So in those WhatsApp forums, they send assignments to children and guide them on what they need to learn next. And they ask the parents now to be the ones who are able to follow up on this. And maybe the question that keep on recurring, what about the children that are not covered in the networks? What about the children that do not have the resources to be able to do this? I know the children that may not be able to have internet. It is very gracious that the Ministry of Education with KICD and the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation are running programs through radio and through television for them to be able to still continue engaging in learning. But we also appreciate the fact that there are certain children that they can't engage even in these ones because they don't have access to maybe TV, they don't have access to mobile phones, and probably don't have access to the radios. So I think this is where the focus should be more. How do we bring in the ones who are left out, who are not able to interact with whatever is being offered in these various forums? How do we reach these children? And what about the children whose parents don't have smartphones, who can't be able to get WhatsApp? How do we get up onto this? And probably also in Kenya, one thing that you appreciate, the ministry had an effort of the digital literacy program, where you have devices that have been given to schools. I think we can still also explore how these devices that were already given, that teachers were already trained on how to use, would also be used to address the situation that we are in right now. But overall, one thing that all of us should appreciate is that this pandemic has called us to rethink education, such that education is not just within the four walls of the classroom. Maybe we take, for example, like I think in Finland, where they are moving even outside education, outside the four walls, where children can report to school and go to the field and learn so much. So how can we capacitate parents that when we are in these circumstances, it's not education within the four walls of the classroom. There's a lot children can learn from home. When a child is in the kitchen cooking with the parents, what science can they learn from there? What chemistry can they learn if they are secondary? And what may be biology, what physics, and what mathematics are they able to learn?
1 minute warning.
Not only in the kitchen, what about in the field when they go to the farms? What can they learn? So this is where we also need to really strengthen the parents to appreciate that there are a lot of skills that children need to learn at home that only do not need to wait for school for them to be able to learn. Like peace, there's conflict. We are told there's a lot of conflict in families now. How do we use the circumstance and the situation we are in to teach children how to be able to coexist peacefully? So these are some of the very important skills that may not be taught in my chemistry classroom, may not be taught in my mathematics classroom, but we have this opportunity. But we need to capacitate parents and we need to capacitate teachers to be able to provide the support that is necessary for the children and the students at home during this particular time. But we have to rethink education. Is education only within the four walls of the classroom? There's a lot that need to be learned outside, and where children can practically see how they are able to apply the knowledge they are gathering in school in the real life situations that they are facing right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Kogola. How do we rethink education? The pandemic has forced us to rethink education. We have to reimagine education. What if the pandemic continues for the rest of the year? What are we going to do? So those are very, very important insights from Semastia, and thank you very much. For those who do not know Semastia, you must understand that this is a body, it's a government organization that is charged with promoting this, the learning of STEM, which is basically science, mathematics, and technology. So thank you so much. And very quickly, I want to go to the next speaker. He is the chairperson, the chairman of the Kenya Secondary School Head Association, and he is also the principal of Machakos High School. His name is Mr. Indimuli Kahi. Welcome, Mr. Indimuli Kahi is going to give us the perspective from the Secondary School Heads Association. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, moderator. Thank you, participants. I hope I'm being heard. I want to say the discussion comes in very timely, and we at secondary school are really facing the bigger challenge because we have the older students who are focusing on what they would wish to achieve in future. In my discussion, I'll look at three areas. One, look at what challenge have we faced? What are the schools trying to do to mitigate this challenge? And finally, look at what is expected of us as a nation in order to face such a challenge when it comes again. Mr. Chairman, I would like to say that the pandemic came in at the time when we were just beginning to move on with the first term of teaching in our schools. We had done about 10 weeks. We were remaining with about 3 weeks, and the schools were closed down. We closed in a hurry, and there was no proper plan on how the students were going to be engaged. This came in later, and each school was now trying to see how to engage their students. As it has been observed by Mr. Kogola there, many of the schools initiated had already been having the WhatsApp group, basically for sending simple communication to parents and sharing one or two things. But now these groups are converted into getting assignments, getting tasks that the students were supposed to do. The question here is the parents were equally not prepared. Issues of some of the parents not having smartphones emerged, and a number of students were therefore now relying on relatives to assist them get these assignments. Other schools tried Zoom teaching. Again, not 100% students were able to be reached. Reason being, some of them came from very far-flung areas where the network was not very good. And apart from that, even the gadgets that they would use in accessing this information became a challenge. Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development has developed online programs. I would like to say that these programs have been there. It's not that they are beginning now. They have been there. The biggest problem was the uptake of them. What happens is the teachers would access the programs, listen to them, and go to class and teach. Very few would carry maybe a radio to class or allow students to watch the TV and see that program being administered. But now the students are being asked to go to various channels, KBC, go to various channels on television to watch this. Now, one big challenge here, which as a nation we need to look at, we have so many stations, FM stations, and in many areas there is a lot of interference between the KBC channels and other local channels. So the transmission is not very clear, even for those who have radios and are able to access this. In some areas, they may not have the radio, so they are missing out. When it comes to the use of mobile phones and other gadgets, the challenge again came in on issue of bundles, and again, downloading the information and printing. This poses an extra cost to the parents, which they were not prepared. And that's why now parents are asking, are we going to get a refund in fees now that the term had not ended? We are now spending money on this. And that is something that will have to be discussed by the Ministry of Education. I would say yes, the online programs are there, organized by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, and students should be able to access them. But the percentage of the students who are able to access this is very low. And therefore, as principals, we note that a larger percentage of students is not able to follow up the learning properly on radio or TVs or through the website. Two, these schools are at different levels of syllabus coverage on the content they are supposed to cover. So you find that at times the lesson that is being offered to some students may be a repetition and therefore they lose interest. To others, it may be too far ahead of them that they are not able to connect. So what we need to do is, as teachers, we need to now start coming up with online materials for our own students. Because if I prepare my online material for my students, I know the level at which I can teach that online material. I know the level at which they are and the level at which they can understand. Remember that the interaction between the teacher and student is not there. So monitoring whether the students are attentive and whether learning is taking place is therefore left to the parent. But the parent, on the other hand, has not been capacity built on how he can do this. We cannot assume that they can transform themselves into teachers during this period. But the pandemic, as bad as it is providing us with challenges that require thinking. How are we going to be imparting knowledge even after COVID-19? How are we going to monitor that learning is taking place? How are we going to ensure that the children from less fortunate areas, children from the slum, are actually learning? This would have been easy if there was an opportunity for students to gather somewhere. But because of the social distancing that the Ministry of Health has recommended, this becomes difficult. And again, that becomes a challenge on post-COVID. When we now come back, the public health protocols will still need to be looked at. So as we prepare, we need to look at that, and I'll be sharing what we need to do in a short while. Now, there have been a lot of questions on the issue of how does on-learning take place in rural students without the infrastructure? Yes, that is the bigger challenge, and I've already mentioned. Maybe what we need to do now as a country, we have to go back to the initiative that the country had in providing the iPads for students, so that all these students and teachers and the pupils in the far-flung areas have them. The challenge today we are also going to see later is what kind of content are the students getting on this online learning? Because the gadgets they are using are not structured for learning the way the gadgets our primary school students have. These are open gadgets. And therefore, when a parent leaves the laptop or the iPad or the phone to a student, the student has an opportunity to access every other sites. And some of the sites may not be really what is required for learning.
1 minute remaining.
Therefore, parents here will definitely need to monitor these students. Now, what do we need to do as we prepare to reopen our schools if this pandemic is contained? One, we must find where public health information marries education. Because we cannot now open the schools and move on the way we have been moving on with all these public health protocols in place. Two, we must be ready to ensure that other methods, are we able, as Mr. Kogola said, are we able to conduct these classrooms out of the four walls? And therefore, how do we retool the teacher to be able to do this? How do we prepare the child psychologically also to be able to know that learning can also take place outside the four walls? The issue of examination has been there as I conclude. I've received several questions asking me why can't we do away with exams, and they have given a country like Norway as one of the countries that has done away with exams. I would want to quickly say that the education system that we are following in Kenya today, the issue of transition and exit is based on examination. For Form 4s to exit the 844 circle, the secondary circle to the higher circle, they have to sit an exam. For Class 8 to transit to the secondary circle, there is an exam. Our Education Act does not provide any other alternative assessment that can be used to place these students. If you look at the Norway, when I received the question, I chose to find out. You'll find that in Norway, though they have canceled the examination, but the exam only counts for 20%, and the remaining 80% is course attendance and other areas, which we do not have in the Kenyan setting. I know there's a lot I would wish to share, but my time is up. I know if I get another opportunity, I will add more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ndimulika here, and very important takeaways. He's talked about the laptop projects. You know, remember when the president was campaigning and he says he wants to give laptops to primary school kids. People are thinking it's a joke, but now you can see the president was right. The president was right, and perhaps we need to now rethink how do we again bring back the issue of the laptop. Because you're behind time, I'll call upon the next speaker. This is Ms. Mudeu Kasanga, who's the chairperson of the Kenya Private Schools Association, a passionate educator, and she represents the voice of all the private schools in Kenya today. So I welcome Ms. Mudeu Kasanga. Karibu.
Thank you very much, Daniel. CAS is present, and ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be here today to just give you perspectives of what we are going through as the private sector. It is quite a surprise that what Mr. Ndimuli is saying actually cuts across both the private and the public sector. The 3 weeks before schools closed, after schools were shut down, gave us an opportunity to experiment, to see what we could do online and what we couldn't do. So those 3 weeks were like a sudden testing ground for how ready we were to ensure that learning continued. The lessons are exactly the same. The lessons from the private sector and those from the public sector are exactly the same and revolve around 3 major points. Like Mr. Ndimuli said, the availability of devices at home stood out as the big issue immediately. And we found out in the private sector that there are far more homes without even a smartphone than the common data, the data available to us seems to imply. When you read the news, when you pick up data from the telecom companies, they seem to imply that we have a lot of smartphones in Kenya as a percentage of our population. For us in education, we didn't find that. The second challenge we found was technology literacy on both ends, you know, from the home and from the school. We found that once a head teacher is himself not technologically literate, he provides no leadership at all to the team of teachers he leads, and therefore that school tended to fail in delivering education. We found that at home, especially when we're dealing with primary schools, if the parents were not tech savvy, instantly there was failure on that front. As a result, we also discovered that the digital divide is real. It aligns with the poverty index. Very clearly, it aligns with the poverty index. And for many families, owning a smartphone is just not a priority. They have, you know, real basics, putting food on the table as a priority. And a phone that can just receive money is good enough. Not doing a smartphone is not a priority. The third area was that connectivity, internet connectivity now became the big challenge. We found that a good number, a very huge percentage of our schools did not have internet connectivity to even launch any form of education, online education. And then, of course, in quite a wide part of our country, we found that the connectivity was below par. It was not 4G, it is, very poor 3G coverage. We feel as a private sector that this pandemic is a turning point. It is a turning point. While the government can talk about devices, especially in primary schools, we in the private sector cannot have the same discussion despite having the same demographics of children. We have schools that have a lot of resources, and we have even more schools with very little resourcing in terms of ICT and preparedness. We are now leveraging, like Mr. Indimuli has said, on content that is just available content. We are doing now the two different models. There is distance learning and there is online teaching. We are now focusing and throwing all our effort towards distance learning and perhaps then using technology to transmit that content. We are going to rely more on families assessing that content themselves, because as schools, we are simply not able to organize that learning to flow according to our schemes of work. So whether we like it or not, whether we are criticized or not as education, the one ICT, one medium of communication that we know has the widest reach is radio. According to UNESCO data, 80 to 90% of households in sub-Saharan Africa have access to radio. So this is defying what the naysayers are saying, that, oh, some people don't have radio. That sum is 10%. And that is not enough to stop us from relying on radio to transmit education. So that is what we are going to do. We are all leveraging on KICT and content and freely available content right now to get everybody engaged with learning for as long as we remain shut. As Mr. Indimuli has explained, I don't need to go into that. Radio provides daily programming and has content from primary to secondary. And all we want from KICD, all we want from the Ministry of Education and ourselves as the industry players in education is that now we want briefings, daily briefings or weekly briefings on education, highlighting the availability of this content so that we can mobilize parents to avail the resource of radio to their children to enable them to continue learning. Moving on to post-COVID, because that's the other thing that we must discuss. We have to be, there's the quiet thing that is happening, and in the daily briefings, it has emerged once in a while, that we are seeing an uptick in domestic violence. And when domestic violence happens, the most vulnerable in our society are the ones who are affected. And here, I now discuss the girl child. We will have, as educationists, to be ready to receive children who have gone through experiences we might not even believe ourselves. Our counselors in our schools have a lot of work, and we as school managers, owners, head teachers, principals have to be ready to tackle quite a lot of mental health issues that arise from this long closure. And you can imagine that kids are contained in homes and that sort of thing. So it exposes the girl child to quite a lot of trauma potentially. We do have children with special needs who are very difficult to cater for in a time of closure. And this is a worldwide problem right now. And in Kenya anyways, our social care system has never quite taken off. And schools have been the place where a lot of children with special needs have been taken care of. Many parents are not able to take care of their kids with extreme special needs. This is what we have to go back to. This is where we have to put our thinking hats on and bring out the best in ourselves as educators to ensure that these kids recover and settle back down into education. We need to be very prepared as well for condensed, timetabling and that sort of thing that will demand long working hours from teachers to compensate for the time lost, because again, whether we like it or not, we are aware that not all children will have access to continuous learning even as we go ahead. So we are ready. We are aware of these things. So we know and we are expecting, and we must take the leadership to keep informing our head teachers, our principals, that this is the kind of organization that will come in, and it may not come in with any compensatory financial compensation for the extra work put in. We are coming back to school after a pandemic. So there's a health aspect to managing the reopening of schools post-COVID. Education we have in Kenya are very, I think we are particularly unique in this. We have one of the largest networks of boarding schools in Africa. And as a result, and because of the 100% transition, we are all, both public and private, slightly overcrowded. And in government, I believe Mr. Ndimuli can clarify, very overcrowded. COVID-19 demands social distancing. How are we going to cope with post-COVID, given that unless a vaccine is found in the next 2 months, that this virus is here to stay? So this is a very big, the big one for us in the private sector. We are worrying and chewing over this. Basically, we expect that the Ministry of Health must facilitate all schools to have at least thermal thermometers. The Ministry of Education will facilitate government schools and hopefully private schools as well. All children are Kenyan. We expect to be facilitated with, sanitizers and things to make sure that the health of the children is prioritized. That's it. To wind up, education, we now need to think ahead. This is a first for Kenya. We have only had to deal with drought and small closures in between. Universities are seasoned with closures because of riots and whatnot, but they have not given us thought leadership on this. But we now need to put in preparedness for such closures in future. And my hope and prayer is that such discussions as this we are having will tease out how to best do and prepare for such things in future, or even to prepare should the virus recur again. We don't know what the future looks like. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Thank you so much, Madam Mudeu Kasanga from the Kenya Private Schools Association. Next, quickly, let's go to Mr. Stephen Njoroge, who is the CEC for Education, Culture and Social Services in the county of Nyandarua. CECs are what you know as ministers in the national government, but he's going to give us a perspective from the county government. Welcome, Mr. Stephen Njoroge.
Thank you very much. You can hear me well? Thank you.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you very much, and even for being included, so that I can also be able to give the perspective from the county government. I know our mandate is more on ECD and youth polytechnics, but we work very well with the county director of education here, and therefore I'm able to talk about what we are doing for both our primary and secondary school. But just to join other speakers, I think to me, this is the time we require to relook our education system. This is the time we require to relook how we give our instruction, our media, our curriculum instruction. That whether we need to continue the way we have been doing business, whether we need to continue the way we do exam. Is this the time that we bring in projects? Because if we had the project, I think these children would have continuing with this project even at home. I went to Israel and found that like science, you are given a project for all your 4 years. That's when you are either be given the grade, whether you succeed or not. Therefore, it's necessary that we look at that. At our ECD, one of the issues we have, because mostly we don't have what they are doing at home, those young children, but also we are looking at their nutrition health. How are they? So even we have a challenge Are they feeding even at home? That's what are the county government we are looking. How are the parents? How are those children? Those are some of the big issues that county government have. Like in Nyandarua, we have milk as a flagship project. And even we are making programs to see even whether this milk can get these children at home. Because if we don't bring children at that level, then you will not be able to get good runners in both the primary and secondary. And I'm bringing a new change here through His Excellency the Governor that want to start even not only building classrooms, but what is inside in our ECD. We start creativity. We start developing mind at that level. I'm so much concerned on that the children can carry even learning at home. We also have, our mandate is also in vocational training centers that we are looking and giving a lot of support. These are children that come from your secondary schools, and we want to make them in Nyandarua as units of production. We want to make them as units of service that can be able to service even our vehicles here, those who do mechanical as courses, and also training. So we are not just going to take VTC as centers of training only, but are they be able to give and support? For example, now, Banajuma, that our VTC are making masks. So we are not buying the face masks from other countries. We are making them here, and even want to see whether we can even be able to sell them even outside. So we have to relook the way we do things. That's not just training. I will not be able to support our vocational training centers that are only doing training, but I want to see the other area. What can they be able to produce? What service can they be able to give the county so that children and our trainees can run from that? At this point, Mr. Chairman, I would wish to tell the parents the need to support our children even when at home.
Yes, go ahead. Are you there, Mr. Njoroge?
Daniel, he's muted. I think he was muted.
Looks like we have lost Mr. Njoroge. Mr. Njoroge, are you there? Can you see me?
This is the high time. Parents must be able to take their whole responsibility. I also want to see and to remind the parents. I know we have a lot of, like KICD, we have timetable, we have so many programs in the media. I think it's the high time that parents also see that the children reach them. You can do that through our phones and any other gadget that can help our children to do that. We are also happy that schools are also offering their institution as our isolating and the quarantine centers, because we must be able to fight all the pandemic as a team. If we are able to solve problem of pandemic, then the schools will continue. Therefore, I would want it to see even schools, teachers, anybody, seeing how much do you contribute to fight the pandemic. Therefore, it's very, very necessary that we continue doing our best. And that is what we are doing as a county, that where children are involved, even in border, one time they'll be carried also. We want to see that they are washing their hands. We have that sanitizers. I think that's the retro that we are doing as counties to see we contribute. So the schools, I'm happy that we are using them to isolate, to quarantine, so that we see how we be able to do that. And I'm happy that principals have even given those facilities, and in the aim that we'll be able to replace them with the new ones, because we'll also have the exit program of fumigation, of cleaning those schools, and also buying mattresses or blankets that will have been used by now. Otherwise, I want to thank you and to say that we have a bright future in our country. If only we look at our education, we see more of creativity, we want to see more of innovations. To me, that's the best we can be able to do. Not only passing exam. That's not just whether children will sit exam, whether they pass or not. That's not necessary for now. But how do we build innovation? How do we build character in our children that they'll be able even to read even when they are at home? I think I mostly wanted to give more on what we are doing as a counties to support the schools, and even areas. We're also thinking of areas where we can also have internet, maybe where children can be able to go and access these programs through internet. Those are programs, Mr. Chairman, we also have as a county.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Njoroge. Mr. Njoroge was the principal of Moi Forest Academy. He was the first principal to set up LEAP hubs. These are the spaces that we opened in high schools to be able to promote innovation. He's also the immediate former director of the Center for Mathematics, Science and Technology in East Africa. Thank you so much. And quickly, let's go to the next speaker. This is the role of the media. And I want to invite Ms. Anne Gitau. She's business executive in charge of newspapers in education, to let us know what they're doing as media to be able to engage learners and parents at this time. So the Standard Media Group, we work very closely with them, and thanks to them, even this program, was advertised in the dailies even today. So welcome, Annie.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Annie Gitau, as Daniel has said. I work for Standard Media Group. I run a program known as Newspapers in Education. So as we discuss the education matters and what is taking place in our country right now, I want us to go back to the very beginning, that when we began to learn, we started by reading and writing. That it is the reading and writing that propels us to be able to either access online learning, or when we're in the classroom learning, or just our books. But we must go back to the beginning. So for us at Standard Group, what we did is, yes, we have the technology, we have the TV, we have the radio, we have social media, we have the whole works. But we went back to the very beginning, because at the end of the day, this is what is happening. In Kenya, the final examination for both primary and secondary schools is actually a hard copy paper. That is what is taken to all the schools in Kenya, and that is the exam that they actually do, so that then they're graded and they can then proceed to the next level. So for us, what do we have? We have the newspaper. So what we did is take this newspaper and take it to schools around Kenya. And the reason we did this is because we want these children to be able to read and understand what they're reading for themselves. So with the Newspapers in Education program, not only do we go and ensure that there is reading that is taking place, so they're comprehending what they're reading, they're not memorizing things, but that this newspaper does not just bring news to them. What they're learning in class is actually what they will find out here in the world. So if they're learning something in biology, when they are at home cooking, it is something that will make sense to them, because they know how that fire comes to what it is and how they get to do the meals and things like that. But going a step further, we actually went out of our way to incorporate exam questions and model papers in the newspaper. So every Tuesday and Thursday, we have the exams modeled in the way that our end of year exams are modeled. And we take them to schools around Kenya, and we ask these kids to just, get into the habit of doing these exams, knowing that the questions are asked a certain way and to be able to answer. But with the new CBC, this is what is going to happen. CBC comes from a point where you're asking this child to think. You're asking them to go back to themselves and find that thing that motivates them. You are actually trying to gauge them based on what they know, what they understand, their experiences with what they're interacting with the clay, with the leaves, with whatever it is that you're asking them to do. And I think my greatest now direction would be, these children are at home right now. They're at a point where they were supposed to be learning how to read, learning how to understand for themselves. Then you've sent them home. But you expect that their parents, like Paul Kogalo said, you expect their parents to be able to do what their teachers are doing. But you don't understand that this child is, first of all, conflicted. The fact that they're at home, and then now you're asking them to do their schoolwork, And they no longer have that space where they are comfortable, where they know, I come home because mommy loves me, she tells me she loves me. I come home and I know I can go out and play with my friends. I come home and I know I can just watch cartoons, And I come home and I know there's a hot meal waiting for me. But now you want to be their teacher and you don't take time to understand this child. What are their needs? What is that thing? What is that talent? Are you nurturing it? Are you engaging them? Are you talking to them? Because like we said, like Madam Othel said, there are mental health issues and we have to deal with a lot of counseling when we go back. So these children, are you engaging them? Is there a point where instead of looking just at their classwork and taking it from the radio, from the TV, from the newspaper, in the place where they begin, where they started from, in that home, are you engaging them? So the media will bring you from the radio and from the TV and from the newspaper. And we are a bridging gap because we touch on all sectors of this society, whether you are able to afford the distant learning or you're able to afford the newspaper, whatever it is that you find in your own environment, in your own space, we are able to bridge that gap. But the parents that are in these places, the stakeholders who are in these spaces, what are they doing for these children? So for us, what we are asking stakeholders out there to do is to look into how they can actually plug in. So that it's not about just telling you we went to this school and we found that they don't even have classes. Nobody comes in this. What will 19 do the same thing? Telling the government, you need examinations onto the digital platform. But if they can't right now, it means the learning is not complete. That there is no this country because we all are different. Just come in. We can science and mathematics in schools.
Annie,
but
you have
also
connectivity issues.
They have actually. Sorry.
Hello, Annie. I thought the internet was cutting on your side. Yeah, now it's okay. Continue.
Okay. All right. So I was saying that there's an opportunity for us to actually go out and reach the children who are doing the CBC and to develop these children in a place where this is something that has happened in their lifetime. When this is over, what will they remember about it? Our president talked about the laptop project, and I wish it had taken off because then it would be so much easier right now. But at the same time, what we're dealing with right now is not only to do with laptop projects, it's to do with CBC, to do with high school, to do with tertiary education, because everyone has forgotten the university students as well who are sitting at home, very bored. They don't have jobs, so they're not they're not working from home. They don't have school, so they don't have lessons. And in that at all. There is another thing that somebody touched on, that there are schools that have feeding programs. So these children are seated at home. The first thing that they will look for is food. It is not.
Okay. Hello.
How
Annie?
many my son can do it? No, it will be that I don't have. Yes, yes, Daniel, I can hear you. Daniel? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Annie. You can wind up.
Okay, now I can hear you. Okay, let me wind up. So from where I'm seated, let me just bring this to the table, that if we build it, they will come. If we build a structure that is good enough for these children, where this, like, let's take, for example, the laptop project takes off, that these children will come to the table and they will learn from this laptop project and from their laptops. But if we do not, then we don't have an opportunity to make a difference. Whatever it is that we hope to do in the future, whether we are going to give projects, whether it's a laptop project that is going to take off, whatever it is, we need to come together and be able to sit at the table as stakeholders and say, this works in this instance, this works in this, and this works in this instance, so that we have an all-round platform where everyone can, others do home science based on what is in the schools at that point. So for me, my take would be that we come to the table and build what we need to see taking place in the schools around Kenya. And if we build it, they will come.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Annie. So I think that is very, very essential. And thank you for what you're doing at the newspapers in education. And next, I want to move now from Kenya to Nigeria. I want to give this opportunity to Ms. Funmi Fadahunsi. She is the Sub-Sahara Africa Country Programs Manager for Oracle Academy. So she's going to tell us how we can leverage Oracle Academy resources for learning and teaching, and any other thing that that we are able to do at this time. So welcome, Ms. Funmi.
Thank you, Daniel. Good day to everyone. Please, can you just wave to be sure that you can hear me? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So again, I'm glad that everyone here has been keeping safe. And I want to commend the efforts so far in Nigeria, in your country. I hear about using radio, television, online, mobile, which is really good to engage both the teachers and students during this period of COVID. And also to say thank you to Global Peers for doing this and all the other speakers and panelists. As introduced, my name is Shefumi, and I manage Oracle Academy programs in Sub-Saharan Africa, including Kenya. And I want to use these few minutes to explain and point you to resources that Oracle has during this period to support. But for the sake of people who do not know, Oracle Academy is a philanthropy program for Oracle Corporation, and our focus is to advance computer science education. Our resources are geared around computer science education, and our focus has always been the government, the educators who are the teachers, and the students. And we work at different levels, from primary to secondary and tertiary institution. We gladly have worked with Global Peers. We work with Semastia on a few times. We are hoping to start engaging KICD, right? It was supposed to be right before this whole shutdown, but after it, we're hoping to pick that conversation again. We work with quite a number of universities in Kenya. And our program has actually always been online based. Schools and teachers are able to download it for use at different levels. We do not necessarily teach you how to use the resources. We don't command you that you have to teach this course at this time, but we believe that for every teaching process, there's a curriculum, there is a learning content. So what we've done is to be able to put all of Oracle resources, Oracle technologies in form of pedagogical forms that the teacher, the school can adopt and decide how much content they want to include in the current curriculum, and then transmit this knowledge to the students. Right now, engagements like boot camps, like we've done in the past, hackathon, physical teacher training are of course on hold because we all have to adhere to social distancing. However, most of the resources that we have are available, and the beauty of it is that for the sake of internet connectivity, teachers can download these resources on the laptop. Students also who have access can download onto their laptop, so they do not have to connect to the internet all the time when they want to connect to it. Also, we have the use of software. All Oracle technology softwares are available for our schools and teachers and students to be able to learn practically and not theoretically when it comes to this knowledge. And because of this time, we've identified that the three most effective way to engage any teacher or students is facilitation. So we encourage teachers to leverage on the use of facilitation, which basically means you send them some content, maybe through WhatsApp. You send them content maybe through WhatsApp or email, and the students can learn over a period of time. And then maybe you ask questions. Do you have questions? Do you have answers? So you're not necessarily teaching, but you're facilitating the learning process for them. is also project-based. All the while, students have learned some level of information while they were in school. This is the time to give them projects, hands-on lab, to try the knowledge they've had, which is more theoretical, and they are learning in the process. And of course, the other final one, which is actually to teach sharing a particular knowledge over a period of time, lesson notes and all of that. And what exactly do we have in that area? So we have resources all the way from primary to secondary. Our courses are usually around programming or database. For the programming courses, the curriculum so the website is academy.oracle.com. That is where all these resources are. For schools who are already on the platform, who are registered on the platform, let me also add that Oracle Academy resources are free. It's our philanthropy program. So we believe that we are supporting with this. So every resources from the registration to the download to the use of the software is free for beneficiaries. All they need to do is academy.oracle.com. All they need to do is register the institution, or as a teacher, register, and the access is there. I am online. I'm designated to be online to support for any request that comes from any country. Let me give an example. USIU and Kenyatta University, for example, they are currently engaging their students remotely. So what they've been able to do is pick some of our resources and share with the students to learn. So the students are learning even while they're at home. They can log into the software. They have the password. It's also free to them. We actually even make sure we mandate it for members not to charge students for anything. Everything you transfer from us to your students also has to be free and at no extra cost to them. So we understand that not everybody may have access to internet or computers, like you said, but most of these resources are mobile friendly. All you need to just download it and read it. And now that Kenya is even leveraging on TV and radio, these are things that can be adopted. So there's something that we call iLearning, and on our iLearning is where we host the curriculum. And the curriculum is not just text. It is a guided step-by-step learning. So it's like a slide. So you can share slides on TV, you can read it out. As far as the students have prior knowledge, even if you are teaching them from the first time, I believe that all of these current channels that Kenya as a country is exploring can also leverage on this to teach. And the reason is because we do not need to stop engaging students and teachers at this time. I think one of the key things is to engage them with projects. If we cannot leverage so much to teach them new concepts because of the break in transmission, and not just because of the break, we're asking our students to switch or shift the learning process, which they've been used to doing within 4 walls. It may not be easily adoptable for some students. It may be easy for some students more than the other students. However, to keep learning, which is a process, and teaching ongoing, these are the ways why you say, okay, let me use the concept of teaching a student how to build a web-based application. So all the while in school, you've taught them how to code, what to do, single drag and drop. However, they've not been able to try their hands on things because even as a school, you have a semester and you have to teach so many courses in that semester. This is now that you can tell them, follow these instructions, go and test if you can really build a web-based application. Send me what you built over the first 1 week. I'll make corrections. So facilitation and project business is a really good approach to use at this time. And at Oracle Academy, we have all those resources at different levels. I believe that when we engaged Semester, we engaged them on programming and database that can be leveraged at the secondary school level for teachers and students. And we got the feedback that it was really resourceful for them. So this is a time where we don't have to keep all of these conversations to in class. We can leverage it. The resources are on the portal. If your school is not registered or you have a group of schools, I'm sure you can contact us through Global Peace or visit academy.oracle.com. We'll help you get started, help you get access to the results and the content, and you can start sharing. Our goal is to go on Zoom as many times in a day to support any educator, any school that is trying to leverage on our resources at this time. And it is glad that, one of the things that Africa did is the fact that we are quickly at the forefront of trying to adapt to this strange pandemic that nobody planned for. Nobody ever planned for this, yet we seem to be doing well. So we can only keep encouraging and commending us. We understand that it will not get to everybody. And this is basically showing everyone that how much work that needs to be done in digitalizing some content. So we even have to work on digitalizing more educational content and also making sure that there are infrastructures that can transcend locations. At Oracle Academy, for secondary schools, you can leverage on our 2D, 3D programming tools, which is very interactive for young children. It has animations. Single drag and drop, not a lot of coding for students or student developers who are really interested in learning artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, Internet of Things, and all of that. As far as they are a member of a degree awarding school, which is acknowledged by the Kenya Ministry of Education, they are eligible members of Oracle Academy.
1 minute
programs.
remaining.
Okay, so really, I think we can explore all of those things here now, but I just want everybody to know that we are supporting, and like I said, academy.oracle.com is where to go to, or please reach out to Mr. Daniel Juma, and I'm sure that just a click away, we're up on Zoom or any platform to be able to teach you and give you all the necessary access that you need. So we are happy to support during this time, and I'm glad that Kenya is trying to be at the forefront of leveraging on technology to ensure that we keep learning and teaching going. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sefunmi, for that. And I want to really say that we are grateful for the work Oracle Academy is doing, and that Global Peace Foundation is an Oracle Academy institution. So if you need anything about, information about how to be part of Oracle Academy, get in touch with us or just visit the website, academy.oracle.com. So quickly, I will move to the next speaker. This is Mr. Oscar Limoke. He is a cloud lead for Power IT Solution, and he's going to talk to us about what you have had previously, the Google Classroom. So how does it work? Welcome, Mr. Limoke.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel, and all the attendees. But this is quite a good engagement session. Just to clarify, my name is Oscar. I work for a company that is one of the Google education partners. We've been supporting a lot of education institutions for the last 5 to 7 years. And we've never been overwhelmed as we've been overwhelmed in the last couple of weeks. Once the pandemic started taking shape, we started getting a lot of requests from education institutions demanding for us to set them up on Google Classroom. How can we support them and all that? So I'll just give a brief about what Google Classroom is and how we are seeing it support some of the existing education institutions. Now, Google Classroom is part of the suite of applications that Google for Education provides for all education institutions for free. Now, a lot of institutions actually do not know that Google Education solutions are available for them absolutely for free, and that's actually one of the biggest challenges we are having to let them believe it's actually for free. It has been in existence for the last 7 years. It's part of the programs that Google provides for education institutions. And some of the education institutions we are seeing leverage Google Classroom are already education institutions that had already been leveraging and planning and working on technology, and they're leveraging heavily on Google education tools. So them plugging onto Google Classroom hasn't been a big of a hassle. But we are seeing a lot of other new education institutions that are hearing everybody's using Google Classroom, are reading about globally how Italy has implemented Google Classroom for everybody, and they're trying to ramp up Google Classroom within a day or two, which is really putting a lot of constraints on them, obviously understanding how Google for Education and Google Classroom operate. So I'll just share some of the prospects, some of the learnings we've had from some schools so far. Now, some of the schools that are really taking shape and having little problems, as I said, are schools that have already been on Google for Education for the last 5 years, 4 years, 3 years. So they already have a lot of familiarity in these tools. Their teachers have already been leveraging and using Google Education tools. They understand that the constraints and challenges of, for example, implementing G Suite solutions for education is you must have an internet connection. So they've consistently been putting in investment in the infrastructure. They've consistently been putting investment in their teachers. So it hasn't been a very big hassle for them to just plug in and move ahead. But on the other hand, we've been seeing and working with the Google partner teams to see how to support the existing education institutions quite quickly. And as soon as the pandemic started taking shape, Google released a website that has it's called Teaching from Home, that put together very quick, rapid resources where education institutions could take advantage of to support their online learning. The website is called teachingfromhome.google.com. .google. And the biggest tool everybody wants to get onto straight, they want to get straight onto Google Classroom. And there's some challenges. People are having miscommunication about what Google Classroom is and what it isn't. I keep telling education institutions, Google Classroom doesn't replace the teacher. The teacher remains at the center of every engagement within Google Classroom. Google Classroom is basically a virtual classroom in a virtual world that still needs a teacher engagement, that needs teacher support, that needs teacher direct involvement. So it basically comes in handy where teachers understand that they still remain teachers, they still remain in charge of their classes, they still remain in charge of their students, and there's no way the technology, in this instance, Google Classroom, will replace them or going to take away their position as teachers, and that's what we're insisting. And even as we do training and consulting for schools, we are making the school decision makers understand that this is not some magical software that will just come and do whatever the teachers would do. It is at the heart and aid to support teachers' engagement within their students and pupils. Now, the schools that are taking it really well, and then the average, obviously, class size that would enable successful implementation of Google Classroom is ideally from at least grade 3. Those are students who have a good grasp of using devices, using internet, and all that. And then obviously we are seeing also a lot of demand for integrating video sessions within Google Classroom. And just a couple of days ago, Google was able to release the direct integration of video sessions within a classroom. So as a teacher, you just log into your Google Classroom, you have your learners are able to just get into and have video sessions and all that. Now, what are some of the challenges of the schools that are trying to get onto this bandwagon of Google Classroom? They get to understand quite quickly there are the challenges of network and cost. Not every teacher has a reliable and strong internet connection in their home, and obviously for them to run a successful classroom, including video sessions, they have to have quite a reliable internet connection. I get asked quite very questions that look stupid, quote to quote, but they're really important. The teacher asked me, how much bandwidth would I need? How much data bundles would I need to run a session or a class that is 1 hour? Considering I'll do lots of research, I'll look for different videos, I'll look for content. And I told them, quite frankly, I really don't know, because I felt like they're trying to get, they're trying to size around to see how much data they should have from the school. But that becomes quite a challenge, because obviously, as a teacher, when you're teaching, you're leveraging different resources. You read across different platforms, you read across different videos, and make the sessions available for your school. So that has been quite a mega drawback, and it's quite evident from some of the schools that are leveraging. If you look at the demographic of the schools quickly adopting Google Classroom, you see a stark difference. A lot of the private schools are quick to jump onto it, whereas the public schools are completely lagging, and it doesn't make sense, because you tell them the facility or the Google education tools are for free. They have always been for free. If you want to get on the bandwagon, it's really quick as ABCD. But the problem is they don't have the infrastructure. The teachers don't have the supporting infrastructure, both in their homes or even in the schools. Now, what are some of the schools that are leveraging Google Education? They are still maintaining teachers coming to school. So where in the school now they make available the infrastructure. In this case, it's the internet, it's the network, it's the environment to just deliver the class sessions. Now, still taking care of the social distancing, now teachers are able to literally now broadcast and attend, do classes normally, but within the environment of the school, even though the students are not there, but the teachers are there and they're pushing that. Some of the biggest fears that people are having is, again, security and the vulnerability, obviously, especially in the primary section and lower section. People want to know, and parents are asking them for good reason, is there anything that my children will be exposed to as we do this online learning and all that. And this reminded me of a previous program we were also running with Google called Online Safety Program. We were running in a couple of other schools. Google still provides that for free, which at that time, it didn't make quite a lot of sense, but if you think about it now, it allows or provides special skills to both teachers and students to know how to, what parts of the internet are good and what parts aren't good. And just like in the moment now, we have a lot of uptake from private schools. It was the same during that particular time. So I think a lot of policymakers in this call may want to explore that particular angle, why public schools are usually slow to consider some of these tools that are already available for free, which wouldn't incur any much cost. But some of them point to a fact where making decisions is really not sometimes their purview. They have to go much higher. For example, you go to public school, they tell you, is Google Classroom sanctioned by the Ministry of Education? Is Google sanction approved by the Department of Education? So I don't want to actually get in a position where I'm implementing a solution or a system, free or not, but I'll get into trouble with the Department of Education and all that. So I think there's a lot of policy people here who may want to, this pandemic will actually bring to the fore the fact that it's a good idea to give some leeway to school heads to make these latitudes, because it will take a really, really long time for our public schools to actually pick up and just join the other counterparts in private space who've been taking up this decision quite quickly. Obviously, the other challenges a lot of people are asking is within the video integration. How is the safety of the children? It allows the ability to record. I was in a training yesterday with one of the schools, and there was a complete heated debate about the legality of recording digital training, digital learning content of minors. And there was a lot of backlash from teachers saying it's okay to record, the legal advisor saying no, you cannot record minors and all that, as long as they're below 18, you need to get consent. That those are the new, completely different aspects of the learning that one not
1 minute remaining.
Were not foreseen before. Like, so should the teachers record that class for future use or for future sharing within the school, or should they not? If they record, should they record the minors and all that? There's a lot of white gray areas teachers are grappling with, and for good reason. So if some of the policymakers are able to just give some guidance and very clarity around that, it will really, really help with the learners as they navigate these very challenging environments and times. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Oscar, on behalf of Google. And I think Google Classroom is, many students are using that at the moment, including my kids. So next, I want to go very quickly to the United States of America. We have a partnership with NCCU, the North Carolina Central University, and we have a professor from Kenya. He's a Kenyan, he's Dr. Philip Mutizia. He's from Machakos, but he's a professor in North Carolina Central University. So he's gonna speak to us for just 5 minutes about online mentoring, and then for another 5 minutes, introduce. She'll be joined by another, a lady from the same university, Ms. Talitha Batts, who is also running a program called Education on Demand. So she's gonna tell us about what she's doing. With that project called Education on Demand, Innovative Learning Solution. After that, I will invite the CAS to give us a concluding remark. So, Dr. Philip Mutizia, please, for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Hamjambo. It's been wonderful. I've been listening, and yes, it's impossible for a professor like me to be able to speak in 5 minutes. But I will just do the due diligence by introducing my former student. Mentoring program online. I'll let Talitha address that. She just graduated from education technology, which is my role. My role in North Carolina Central University, I am a professor of education, and my area of concentration is instructional leadership. And then I coordinate education technology, which is where I identified the need for people like Talitha, and also working Global Peace Foundation. We are the only institution in the world, North Carolina Central, who has partnership with the Global Peace Foundation because of my involvement. And we created a mentoring program, which will involve peer mentoring for the LEPUBs, which is when we visited with the Talitha. And to do a better job, we need a full hour presentation later, not this time, but we wanted to introduce how we came up with the mentoring and how she came with the platform she created. We started by trying to connect our students with the especially honors program with the LEPUB students in the LEPUBs in Kenya. And the Global Peace Foundation agreed we will use Kenya as the first, as the pilot. So once we develop a successful mentoring exchange program between students here in diaspora and in Kenya, before we open to other centers of the world in global peace, to address the issues what Tony Divine addressed very well. I don't need to go back there, but my strength is to provide the training for faculty and teachers' professional development, and then the mentoring is just to train them on how to teach using mentoring as a peer education, which is we know research says shows that peer mentoring is the best education process. And now with the social media and integration with artificial intelligence has given us the opportunity for the 21st century. COVID is here to stay, and it has reminded us to do what we are supposed to have done 10 years ago to create intervention process in terms of how we deliver education. A lot of discussion will come to how we need to shift the paradigm in terms of how we assess, train, teach, and assess, as opposed to teaching to test, to test memorization. The competence base. Now, Kenya is ahead of all the countries, even here, by adopting competency-based education. It's just project-based, and it interacts well with how, when you apply the tools, AI, in terms of artificial intelligence. And just an example, you saw how we are challenged, some of us, in logging into this and to continue this because in the interruption on that. But once we teach the young people to understand that, to be able to deal with the challenges of connectivity, we have a whole lot of avenues and best practices to transform the way we teach. And also, first of all, the LEPUBs, the mentoring program, which we have established, which created the need to create a platform. We were trying to do the Zoom like this, but we experimented with the one high school, Mathare North, which was they didn't have the technology accessibility, but we found that we need to create a platform whereby we can have ongoing 24/7 safe and exchange area whereby peers from here and in the diaspora and Kenya and the rest of Africa can integrate and to create the self-directed learning and the peer learning. Now, the other point, the most important point I want to point here is that we have not been able to engage in a way that we leverage the optimum capacity
1 minute remaining
of the diaspora people. So I'm working with the organizations here, with the Kenyan Diaspora Organization, in addition to Diaspora University, which is going to be in Voi. It's going to be project-based, and also this we're going to be providing training for parents as well as the industry and the education in a more different way. But I would like to yield my minutes to my former student and to demonstrate how we're supposed to mentor and share and empower our learners and become actualizing what we are teaching. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Talitha, please. Talitha Bats.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm going to share my screen quickly. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Perfect. Thank you for allowing me to present the MyEOD online education learning management system. We consider our portal a classroom without borders. You can find us at www.demandedu.com. Our mission is to provide entrepreneurship, global leadership, technology, professional training, and career development to teachers and students through an online education infrastructure, creating workforce and entrepreneurial opportunity while impacting global education and policy. MyEOD's key strategic priorities are to provide easy access to online learning to students and teachers, create collaborative environments for teachers and administrators to develop engaging curriculum and courses, deliver educational technology that scales globally, and create a highly skilled, professionally trained 21st century workforce. MyEOD is the best of all teaching and learning tools in one collaborative, user-friendly platform. Now, we all know, and we've discussed here today and in the other platforms, that we've worked with open sources that are difficult to use online. Previously, we've worked with other existing online environments that we've seen many disadvantages to. Many learning management systems are open source platforms with no privacy. We have latency issues or problems logging on, broadband issues, problems with the lack of collaboration ability or communication failures, and most importantly, the lack of measurement and reporting that's available in online management tools. And almost none of them offer any type of professional certification or ongoing support and training for teachers and administrators. MyEOD is an innovative platform that provides professional certifications, a learning management system, and digital teaching and learning in an easy, fun-to-use portal that can be accessed from your laptop, tablet, mobile phone, or smart TV. And I did hear someone talk about radio earlier. I thought that was a very good component. So hopefully we'd be able to attach that to this platform as well, if that was a need or a necessity. MyEOD offers professional certifications. These are all industry recognized professional certifications which are backed by governing bodies such as Project Management Institute. Now, when logging on to MyEOD's portal, each user will be giving a secure and unique user ID and password. MyEOD has a collaborative social media wall like Facebook or Twitter built into the system, which allows you, teachers, administrators, and parents to communicate effectively and efficiently in one location. Also, the entire look of the portal is customizable so you can add your school's logo, pictures, and school colors as you design the perfect portal for your teachers and students. MyEOD offers many built-in courses that are already there for your school to use. You also have the ability to develop your own unique courses and curriculum or work with one or more consultants from our company to design the perfect program for your school or organization. MyEOD has its own Academy library, where all courses and materials such as videos, presentations, assessments, and quizzes, websites, and more are collected for ongoing use anytime. This material will be available for collaborations on new courses that you may develop or updates to existing courses in an easy click and drag method. MyEOD has a built-in reporting system that allows your school to pull customized metrics. From a click of a button, you will be able to report on how many students have logged into classes, how many have completed assignments on time, how many have passed or failed, and the overall success rate of your students throughout the year. MyEOD also easily integrates with other online tools. I heard someone speak about Google Classroom earlier. We can actually integrate with that and also offer more features. You are able to set up live video trainings and classes, one-on-ones with your students, and conferences with your parents through using GoToMeeting, WebEx, or Zoom from inside your private educational portal.
1 minute remaining.
These and many more features are available. However, due to time, We will limit ourselves to highlighting just a few. We have several steps that we can walk through in order to get you up online, such as discovery, implementation, and ongoing support that we will work with you one-on-one. Our team is very capable and very experienced and willing and very excited about working with each of you. Now, what does this mean? The world is full of uncertainty and potential for conflict, as we all know. And so education provided to all is the best way to promote collaboration, peace, and global sensitivity. My ELD has developed the process for discovery, onboarding, implementation, and service based on years of industry experience and partnerships. Let us work together to experience your organization and schools. You can contact us very easily if you would like information or a live demo about our services. Please feel free to email or call. We will be happy to set up an online teaching and learning portal and demo for you to show our many features. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much, Dr. Matisia, for sharing your time, and Daniel for allowing us this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Alitha. Thank you very much. That was very informative, my EOD, and we look forward to working closely with you moving forward. So we have very few minutes to go. I want to check if we have Honorable Momina Bonaya, the CAS for Education, to give closing remarks. Honorable Momina Bonaya, please give your closing remarks. If she's not there, then I'll call upon Honorable Zach Kinuthia to come back. I think now you've sorted out your voice connectivity. So can you please give us your closing remarks?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Juma. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, I can hear you now. We lost you in the last session, but now it's very clear. Yes.
I am so sorry that I did not finish my opening remarks due to sound problem. You know, we are not of this digital generation. Most of us have to learn quickly how to handle meetings via virtual means. But nevertheless, I am so grateful. Sitting here, I have taken so much notes. You would believe that I'm not a student. I am sitting here listening to what you have just brought together, Juma, and I'm impressed, to say the least. I think this is the richest combination of resources that I have come to so far. I have interacted with many meetings virtually and on site, but this is the single most richest source of information that are of importance to our children, our parents, and to the health of any nation. And I'm grateful, from America all the way to Nigeria, all the way to all the speakers who have presented here today, including our own very local media people, other local media standard group, all the people semester, and the rest of the groups that are presented. To say the least, on behalf of the government, I am grateful, and I wish we could organize such a meeting, Director Juma, in the coming days, where we can meet physically and share these stories. I know also the number of students who are following us and all the participants you have brought together, Salim, Omar, and many more. We cannot exhaust the wealth I have listened to here on phone or on laptop or on tablets or on iPad. We need a meeting, Executive Director. I don't know when you're going to put it, but we hope we can defeat this COVID pandemic so that we can come together, share these possibilities, because post-COVID, a new world beckons. We thank the President for having been bold to launch the digital literacy program, which we hope and we continue to bring to the schools, because this is the future. This is what the schooling will go beyond. One of the speakers rightly put it there and said, school and education is no longer supposed to be looked at as a four-wall and a roof concept, but it should transcend the border. And as the last speaker has put it, education on demand have to be through engagements on online platforms, as we're doing. I therefore want to take this chance on behalf of the country to say thank you, Executive Director Juma, to thank you personally, and to thank your battalion of resource people who have spoken to us today in the very good way and means they have done today. And we are so grateful. So receive our warm and heartfelt gratitude on behalf of the government, because this you are doing for our country. You are doing it not on pay from us, government, not on sanction from us, but because of love of education, because of passion for our country and future. We thank you indeed. And we pray for more and much, close relationship in the coming days. Thank you very much. And I take this chance to say again, thank you for inviting us as government to be part of this conversation that is very well catered for. And we thank you again.
Thank you, Honorable Kinuthia. And on behalf of our partners, I want to thank all the people who attended this meeting today. My record tells me we had almost 300 people. I think some are listening, through other means like on Facebook. But moving forward, Bwana Waziri, I'll be looking forward. I'll be, paying a courtesy call in your office and to see how we can take this to another level.
You're welcome.
We will also be having a series of these webinars. We will get more facilitators so that and anybody else who really want to partner, because education is our business. We are all parents. Let's say if I don't care about education, I'm a parent. I have kids who have to go to school. So everybody must get concerned about education. Education is. I want to thank you so much. I want to now, I don't know who will volunteer to close the meeting with the word of prayer. In Africa, I think we like, many of us like to start. I think I'll give it to someone to volunteer to pray, and then we can call it a day, because it's almost 7 o'clock. We have to rush home for our curfew. We have our curfew, the daily curfew. Who will volunteer for us today to pray?
Daniel, just before the prayer, so many really excellent questions came up during the chat, and amazing inputs. So sorry we're not able to get to all these questions on the call, but this actually informs the topics that we can be focusing on upcoming calls and webinars that we're planning to do with the partners here. So I just really want to thank everyone for your tremendous input and participation during the call. This is really, really great feedback, right, that will inform the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. And for all those questions, we had people send questions in advance. We will be sharing some of the answers with you later on, and we'll also share the contacts of the presenters here today. Hopefully, also this recording will be available, and we can be able to share it with you, and also any other resources. This was the inaugural Transforming Education series. It has just begun. I'm hopeful that in the next few weeks or days, we'll be reaching out to you, or those who left the emails, we'll be reaching out to you to let you know whether you'd want to take part in the next series of webinars. So let me just conclude here that COVID is here, but we will not allow COVID to take over our lives. That learning will proceed with or without COVID. And as the Ministry of Health and other stakeholders are giving updates every day about COVID, the numbers, we also need to stand up and check on our students. How are they doing? Which schools have issues? Which students are going without food? So as educators, as parents and teachers and students, I think we must make it our business to think about our students, to think about how to engage them during this time, during this very difficult time of the COVID pandemic. So thank you so much. I will now give it to, let me give it to Talitha. Talitha, please give us your closing prayers. Talitha Bat.
It. As we would like to give thanks for all the people that joined us today to give us